Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. Continue where we stopped on Usool Al-Hadeeth. I think this is the fourth or fifth lesson. Is it fourth or fifth?
Fourth.
Fourth?
Yes, fourth.
Okay, fourth lesson of our Usool Al-Hadeeth from the book Al-Hadeeth fi Usool Al-Hadeeth of Shaykh Mustafa Salama. We covered, we got up to question 24. The last points that we were mentioning were an illah. What is the illah? Huh? Okay, we differ in how many lessons we have, but no problem. This is called ittirab, which we are going to deal with today. Ittirab, when there's a different numbers and narrations of the same thing that we're talking about. So we dealt with illah, which was what was illah? It was the hidden defect. It was a defect, but the hidden defect. What we didn't mention in the illah, we mentioned illah is a hidden defect which affects the narration. You can have an illah and it's a hidden defect, but it doesn't affect the narration. For example, in the narration it says, somebody says, an Sufyan, an somebody else. An Sufyan, an Muhammad. Okay? Now here Sufyan could be Sufyan ibn Uyayna, or could be Sufyan al-Thawri. The person didn't mention who it is, which Sufyan it is. And another issue is that the teacher of the Sufyan that's mentioned is a teacher of both Sufyans. And the student, meaning the Shaykh of Sufyan that is mentioned in the narration, this Muhammad, is a teacher of Sufyan al-Thawri and Sufyan al-Uyayna. And the student that's narrating from Sufyan is a student of Sufyan al-Uyayna and Sufyan al-Thawri. So we don't know which Sufyan are they mentioning, because the narrator only says an Sufyan. Now it doesn't matter, because both are trustworthy Imams. This is a defect in the narration, as there is missing, we don't know exactly which Sufyan it is. However, it doesn't affect the narration because both are authentic. No matter which one it is, it's authentic. Another example of this is when they say an ibn dinar. An ibn dinar. There's about 5 different ibn dinars. Which ibn dinar are you talking about? But the good thing is all 5 are authentic and trustworthy. So it doesn't matter, even though it's a defect in the chain. Yes, it's a defect in the chain, as the person hasn't mentioned which one it is. Is it Abdullah ibn Dinar? Is it Amr ibn Dinar? Is it Muhammad ibn Dinar? Which ibn Dinar is it? But because they're all authentic, trustworthy, accurate narrators, it doesn't affect the correctness of the narration. So here this is an illah, but it is not an illah qadiha. It's not a disparaging or an effective illah, where it affects the narration. Okay? So some illahs affect and some illahs don't affect. The one that we have a problem with is the illah that affects. We don't know, for example, we don't know the narrator, if it's between 1 or 2, but one is trustworthy, one is not trustworthy. Then it's going to have an effect. Then we can't accept it until we know which one it is, and until then we reject it. Before that we spoke about shudud, and we gave the example of shudud, and we might give some more examples of shudud. Then we spoke about the difference between illah and shudud. What was the difference between illah and shudud? What was the difference between them?
When a trustworthy person has many other people who are more trustworthy than him who go against him.
Okay. So the shadh is to do with different narrations, different versions of the chain. Whereas an illah is within the same chain. Okay, illah deals with one chain, Where shuduz we deal with more than one chain. And as he said, it's when the narrator who is trustworthy goes against those who are more trustworthy than him.
No.
Who are narrated in the matan, or it can also be in the isnad. It's possible in the isnad as well. But the example we gave was in the matan. Then he says, question 24. تكلم عن الثقة المخالف لمثله. Speak about the trustworthy one, the thiqah, who goes against or narrates something in opposition to the one who is of the same level as him. So you have two thiqahs, they're narrating the same thing, but they go against each other, contradict each other on what they're narrating. Now this contradiction can be in the wording and it can be in the isnad. This contradiction can be in the wording of which, when I say wording, what does that mean? The matan itself. Or the difference could be in the isnad. What kind of difference in isnad? One says, narrates it to a companion. The other one narrates it to the Prophet. Okay, so we have mawquf and mawsool. One narrates it mawquf, one narrates it muttasil, all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. So here, but they're both at the same level. Neither one is above the other one in level of trustworthy, thiqah or dabt. Okay. Here he says, in amkan al-jam baynahuma fala ishkal. If it's possible to bring them together, then we can accept the narration. وَإِن لَمْ يُمْكِنَ الْجَمْعِ بَيْنَهُمَا فَهُوَ حَدِيثٌ مُضْطَرِبٌ. If we can't bring them together, and can't bring some kind of reconciliation between the narrations, then the hadith is called مضطرب. مضطرب, I don't know a good English word for مضطرب. Anybody knows a word for مضطرب? That's why we need the translation of Bayquniya. It must have the word مضطرب in it. مضطرب means there's a dispute in the wordings. مضطرب. Or is narrated more than one way. It's not, there's an inaccuracy in its wording. There's discrepancy or inaccuracy in its wording. What's the ruling on it? حكمه أنه مردود. The ruling is that we reject it when we can't reconcile between them. Now, Shaykh doesn't give us any examples. I will give you an example. The hadith of Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet, that he said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I see you, araka shayyabt. I see you that your hair have become grey, or you've got greyness in your beard and hair. Shayyabt. You become old, basically. Yes. قال شيبتني هود وأخواتها. That Hud, Surah Hud, and its sisters, the other Alif Lam Ras, are the cause of this old age that has come upon me. Daraqutni says this hadith is muttarib, and says it's weak because it's muttarib. Why is it muttarib? He says because it doesn't come except from the path of Abu Ishaq. And then there's 10 different ways, 10 different ways it was narrated from Abu Ishaq. Some narrated it mursalan. What's mursal? Come on. Don't let me down. Mursalan.
Mursal goes on to the companion.
No, that's mawquf. Mursal. We should just go home now. Huh? The companion is dropped out. Okay, so the tabi is saying what?
The Prophet.
That's mursal. The tabi says the Prophet said.
Okay.
So he says some of the narrators from Abu Ishaq narrated it as mursal, dropping this companion. And some of them narrated it as connected back to the Prophet ﷺ, meaning from the tabi to the companion to the Prophet ﷺ. Some of them, there are 10 different people who are narrating this. Yes? So we have some of them doing it mursal, some of them doing mawsul, some of them narrated it from Abu Bakr, and some of them narrated it from Abu Sa'id. So here they're changing the companion now. Some of those who narrated from Abu Ishaq say that Abu Bakr is the companion. Some of them are saying no, Abu Sa'id is the companion. And some of them are even saying Aisha is the companion, and Aisha is the companion. The problem is all of these different chains that the hadith is coming through are all of the same level. Neither of them is stronger, none of them is stronger than the other or weaker than the other. So this is ittirab.
But if the matan is same, then
Confounded, okay, confounded. The matan is the same.
so how come it become weak?
The matan is the same, but there's a problem. We don't know where it's coming from. Who said this? So is the correct version mursal? Meaning there is no companion. Is that the correct version of the narration? Or is the correct version of the narration that it goes back to the Prophet ﷺ? Okay? Which companion, if it goes to the companion, which companion is it? Okay, which companion isn't that big a problem because they're all trustworthy. But the problem is, did one of the companions actually say it or not? Is it mursal or is it mawsul? Because we can't distinguish between them, and they're of the same level, what do we do?
Reject it.
We reject the narration. And we say this narration is weak. Have you heard this narration before?
Yeah.
I've heard it before, but this narration is weak. According to Daraqutni, others may differ with him, but according to Daraqutni, who is Imam of Ilal, he regards it to be weak. He has a book called Al-Ilal, ala Sahih Imam Muslim. He goes through the Sahih of Imam Muslim and points out Imam Muslim's mistakes. The hidden mistakes of Imam Muslim. And of course, Imam Muslim, he wrote his book in a certain way that the first hadith he mentions in his chapter is the authentic one. Then everything else doesn't have to fall in the same category. Okay, so of course, Daraqutni can't say anything about the first hadith. He deals with all the others and says that these are wrong, this is wrong, and this is not the way, and this is not the way, and this is. And when he says it, that's it. Just agree with it. As Shaykh Muqbil ibn Wadi says, when Daraqutni says it, just accept it. Because Shaykh Muqbil is the one who did the what do they call it? Tahqiq, the checking, or he produced the printed version of Daraqutni's Al-Ilal in 4 volumes. Okay, another example he gives us, Hadith Abu Hurairah, marfu'an. What does it mean, marfu'an? To the Prophet, alhamdulillah. Don't have to kick you out. إذا صلى أحدكم فليجعل تلقاء وجهه شيئا فإن لم يجد فليضع عصا فإن لم يكن معه عصا فليخط بين يديه خطا ثم لا يضره ما مر أمامه. Okay, this is the hadith of sutra. A version of the hadith of sutra. He says, if one of you is to prays, then let him put something in front of his face. Something in front of him. If he doesn't find anything, let him at the very least put a stick. That's in the ground in front of him. If he doesn't even find a stick, then let him make a line. Then, if he does that, then nothing that goes in front of that line will affect him. Okay? So stick and then line. هذا الحديث فيه اضطراب. This hadith is مضطرب. The narrators differed on from the narrator in the chain Ismail ibn Umayyah. A great difference of opinion. Some of them narrated it from Ismail ibn Umayyah, Ismail ibn Umayyah, from Abi Amr ibn Muhammad ibn Harith and Jaddihi, and Abi Hurairah. That's one version. And some others narrated, and Abi Amr ibn Muhammad ibn Amr and Jaddihi. So the next person is the problem. And then the one after him is the problem. And there's others as well. So when they came to Ismail ibn Umayyah, then who was after him is a problem. There's 2, 3, 4 different people who it could be. And their grandfathers. Yes? So we have the person and then their grandfather. Who is the person and who is their grandfather who's narrating from Abu Hurairah? Okay? He says there are 10 different people. 10 different people and 10 different grandfathers. All narrating from Abu Hurairah. And all of these are of the same level. And we can't tell which one is the most correct. What do? We reject them all. We don't accept any of them. We reject all of them. Because we don't know which one it is. Why do we reject? Why don't we just say, okay, no problem, we just accept them all? Again, protecting the sunnah of the Prophet. We want to know what the Prophet said. That is revelation. So when we don't know, we reject. Our default is to reject. Any problem, any no, we reject. We're protecting the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, that was in the isnad. We also can have it in the matan. An example of this is what Tirmidhi narrates from Shuraik, from Abi Hamza, from Sha'bi, from Fatima bin Qais, radiyallahu anha. So who do we have? Tirmidhi and Shuraik, Ibn Abi Hamza and Sha'bi and Fatima bin Qais, radiyallahu anha. Radiyallahu anha. She says, سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الزكاة فقال إن في المال لحقا سوى الزكاة. So she says the Prophet ﷺ was asked about zakah. So he said, in wealth there are rights other than zakah. There are rights other than zakah. What does that mean? Zakah is not the only thing that is deserving to be given out of wealth. In another version of it, which is narrated by Ibn Majah with the same isnad, she says, لَيْسَ فِي الْمَالِ حَقٌّ سِوَى الزَّكَاةِ. There is no right in wealth except for zakah. Slight change, opposite. We have one version saying there is more than zakah. Another one saying there is nothing more than zakah. You have the opposite. How do you reconcile between two opposites? They're coming from the same chain. You can't reconcile them, so what do? You reject both of them. This is اضطراب. اضطراب ألف ضاد طاء راء ألف باء اضطراب. In the book it says المضطرب. He doesn't have the book, I don't think. Now, what I wanted to do, but I can't see how to do it, is to go through some more narrations, if you want. If not, we can move on with the book. You want to go through some more narrations? Okay, the narrations I chose, if we had the board it would be better, but we'll do it without the board. We don't have any markers, and this to fail is coming. Tufayil's always late.
He's arranging for drinks. Yeah?
He left markers, okay, so. I chose, because we were having a discussion. So I chose the narration of Ibn Abbas. To go through the narration of Ibn Abbas, it has 9 different versions. I need to move the camera.
Yeah, cameraman.
Okay. So this is the narration of Ibn Abbas. Okay. About the verse of Allah, the statement of Allah, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. The one who doesn't judge by what Allah has revealed, then they are the disbelievers. Okay? And the only reason I chose it because there's some debate about it. That's the only reason I chose it. And Tufail is, I blame Tufail. Okay. So, the first version of it is, we have Tabari. Everybody know Tabari? Tafsir. He narrates from Hannad bin Sariya. Okay? So Hannad is a teacher of Bukhari and Muslim and others. Hannad. He's trustworthy, without any doubt. Hannad. He narrates from Waki'. We're just calling her Waki'. Okay? Who narrates from Waki' narrates from Ubay. Waki' is with Kaf. Ubay. Who narrates from Sufyan. Which Sufyan? Not bin Uyayna.
This one where he goes,
Here, does it say kufr, dun kufr? I'll give you what he says at the end. Okay. So he narrates from Sufyan ibn Uyayna, who narrates from Ma'mar. Ibn Rashid bin Rashid, actually. Rashid. Who narrates from Ibn Tawus bin Tawus. Who narrates from his father. His father is Tawus. Who narrates from Ibn Abbas. Okay. Ibn Abbas is reported to have said in this version that what is meant by the verse وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. He says it is kufr. And then not the kufr of disbelieving in Allah. Spelling things wrong. In Allah, and so on, and the last day, and so on. Okay? This is the first version of the narration. That's not what he said. This is the wording, exact wording. He says, هي به كفر وليس كفرا بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله. Okay? So it's not the one disbelieving in Allah and His angels and His books and His messengers. So which would indicate it's a lower form of kufr. Yes? This chain is sahih. This chain is sahih. However, there's an issue with these words. Whose words are they? This are the words of Ibn Abbas. Whose words are these? Are they the words of Ibn Abbas or are they additions to words of Ibn Abbas? To find that out, we need to go to the second version of the narration. So we go to, this was the first one from Tabari. The second one is from the Musannaf of Abd al-Razaq. So, from Abd al-Razaq, bin Hammam. Abd al-Razaq is a famous, he's a teacher of many, and he is the great student of Ma'mar. See Ma'mar here?
No.
He is his main student. Imam Ahmad says if the students of Ma'mar differ on anything Ma'mar says, then the correct version is the version of Abd al-Razaq. He's given precedence to anyone else. So Abd al-Razaq says from Ma'mar. Okay? From Ma'mar, from Ibn Tawus, the son of Tawus.
Just connecting there.
Yes, so here we've joined this chain. Okay? So this came from Sufyan. Sufyan is student of Ma'mar. Abd al-Razaq is student of Ma'mar. But if there's a difference of opinion of what's being said, then we go with what Abd al-Razaq says. Because he is the most trustworthy with regards to the narration of Ma'mar. He's his special student.
Even Sufyan ibn Uyayna.
Even with regards to Sufyan ibn Uyayna and anyone. And Ibn Tawus, from his father, Tawus, from his father, who said, so now Tawus is saying, Ibn Abbas was asked. Ibn Abbas was asked. What was he asked about this verse? Yes? He said, it is kufr. Same as, okay, it is kufr. Then he says, Abd al-Razaq says, then Tawus said. Is Tawus said? No, Ibn Tawus said. Ibn Tawus said. So Ibn Tawus said that which is read. Not the kufr of disbelieving in Allah and the Malaikat and the Kutub and the Rusul. So Abd al-Razaq is saying that all Ibn Abbas said was it is kufr. And the rest of this is actually the words of Ibn Tawus and not the words of Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas' words is that it is the kufr mentioned in the ayah is the major kufr. However, in explaining it, Tawus changed it and said that Ibn Abbas actually means it's not the major kufr, it's the minor kufr. So these wordings are the words of Tawus, of Ibn Tawus. We only know that by bringing the narrations together. Okay? And because Abd al-Razaq is the strongest with regards to what is narrated by Ma'mar. You can already see there's ittirab. There is a problem in how it's coming. Now for us to accept it, we could just outright say we don't know and reject it. Yes, from the beginning. As you've seen about ittirab. When they're ittirab and they come on the same levels, and we can't reconcile it, what do? We reject it. So we could outright say there's ittirab, khalas. We don't need to even check it. Just reject it. But here we're going through all the different versions that it came to. That's the second one. I need something to rub that out now. We've all got that, yeah? Just give me a tissue from there. Let me try and shorten it for you. Okay, the third one, number 3, It comes from, it's mentioned by Al-Hafiz ibn Nasr. So, Ibn Nasr, in his book, Ta'zeem Qadr al-Salah, he says, Muhammad ibn Yahya narrates. So, Muhammad bin Yahya. From Abd al-Razaq. Okay, so who's Abd al-Razaq going to narrate from? Who do you think? Huh? No, he doesn't. Sufyan. Uyayna.
Yeah. I thought you said that.
I'm changing the spellings of the people's names. Oh well, doesn't matter. Okay, Sufyan. From a man. From
As in a man or
a man, someone.
Rajul.
Rajul. Yes.
I don't want to call it a man.
Rajul.
Rajul. Let's say someone. Someone male. Okay. From Tawus. From Ibn Abbas. Who said, this is kufr, but not that which takes one out of the religion. Okay? Kufrun la yanqul anil millah. Kufr which doesn't take you out of the millah. Okay, what's the problem with this narration?
Rajul.
So what do we say to this narration? Naive. Okay? Can't do anything to it. Even though it agrees with what Ibn Tawus said. But we can't say anything to it because it's where did that? Oh.
Who's the one who said
Oh, sorry.
We got another quite a few more.
Who's the one who said a man?
Sufyan says from a man and Rajul. Can we assume it's Ibn Tawus? Could be. But we don't know. You can't say because he said it's a man. No, we need to know which man. Who are you narrating from? Tell us. Till he tells us, we don't know. He has to tell us who it is. We can make as many guesses as we like. Yes? Not really, no. We need to know who is Sufyan narrating from. We have to ask Sufyan, who are you narrating from? If he tells us, because it could be anyone. It could be anyone. And that anyone could be weak or authentic. We don't know. Then we have another version of it. That third version, we have another two versions of the same one. All of them have the same problem with Rajul. So Tabari mentions it as well. Abd al-Razaq and Sufyan and Rajul and Tawus. Then he mentions another one where he mentions who that Rajul is. Sufyan and Sa'id al-Makki. So the Rajul is Sa'id bin Sa'id al-Makki. Okay. So we know who the Rajul is now. What can we do with knowing the Rajul? We know who he is. But he's not authentic. Oh no, that's not right. He is authentic. He is authentic. However, he doesn't narrate from Ibn Abbas. He narrates only to Tawus. Okay? And he says that these words that Ibn Abbas is supposed to have said are actually the words of Tawus and not the words of Ibn Abbas. So in the one that we had before, we had the Rajul going back to Ibn Abbas, and the words are from Ibn Abbas. In this one, where Sufyan mentions who the person is, Sa'id al-Makki, but he says that the words are the words of Tawus. So we can say this one is authentic. So these words, not that it's lower kufr, are the words of Tawus and not the words of Ibn Abbas. Just like before, they are the words of Ibn Tawus, the son of Tawus, and not the words of Ibn Abbas. Okay. Next one we have. The fourth one. This is the most authentic of the versions. This is the most authentic of the versions. And we say it's the fourth one. Again, from Ibn Nasr, who says, are we following? Yahya bin Yahya. From Yahya bin Yahya, from Sufyan ibn Uyayna. This would be Uyayna. From Hushaym bin Hushaym bin Hujayr. I really like that name. I don't know why. Hushaym and Hujayr. It just makes rhymes. Hushaym, Hujayr. Yes? Hushaym. It's a nice name. Hushaym. It's a tasghir of. It's not Hushaym. It's Hisham. Oh, sorry. But I like Hushaym. Hushaym is a nice name. Hisham. Hujayr. Hisham ibn Hujayr. Okay. And Tawus. From Tawus. Do you know what Tawus means? Anybody?
It sounds like a Greek name.
Tawus. It's peacock. Peacock. Tawus is called a peacock. It's called Tawus. Okay? From Ibn Abbas, who said on Tawus,
Ibn Tawus is gone.
no, Ibn Tawus is out of it. They got rid of him. And Ibn Abbas, for the ayah, he says, لَيْسَ الْكُفْرَ الَّذِي يَذْهَبُونَ إِلَيْهِ. It is not the kufr that they are meaning the Khawarij, meaning major kufr. Yes? This is the most authentic of the chains. This is the most authentic of the chains. The only problem with it, as I said, it's most authentic. I didn't say it is authentic. It's the most authentic. The only problem is Hisham. Scholars have differing opinions of him. Ibn Madini, Imam Ahmad, and who else? And others, Ibn Qattan, Imam Ahmad, Abu Hatim Uqayli, Ibn Hajar, they all said he's weak. Whereas Ibn Hibban, Ibn Sa'd, Ijli, and some others authenticated him. Yes, and we know that these guys are easy in their authentication of people.
I thought Ibn Hibban was very.
No, Ibn Hibban has contradiction. He's very harsh and he's very easy. He's very harsh with people who are good and very easy on people who are bad, as we mentioned in the book before. But he is the place where there's dispute. So those who authenticate based upon this version and based upon these people, ignoring the great Imams. These are the great Imams who have declared him weak. And these are lesser. But if you want to authenticate it, this is the only chain by which you can authenticate it. Yes.
This is one where the Rasul mentioned that Shaykh Sulaiman Al-Wan, the first person to tadif of this thing.
Here's the people making tadif of it. No Shaykh Al-Wan. Imam Ahmad, Ibn al-Madini, Abu Hatim al-Uqayli, Ibn al-Qattan. They are the ones who are saying this. Also, on top of that, this person, Hisham ibn Hujayr, Imam Muslim and Bukhari don't narrate anything from him in their chapter headings. They only narrate in the shawahid, in the witnesses or the mutaba'at, which shows even they believe that there was weakness in it. So the great Imams are saying that he's weak. And then you have some Imams who are saying he's authentic. He's acceptable. Okay? So if you want to make the verse mean that it's lower kufr from Ibn Abbas, then you have to authenticate this narration. And this is the only one you can.
That's the only chain.
This is the only chain out of the 9 chains where it's possible for you to authenticate it if you rely upon these people.
Who's the last one?
Al-Ijli. Al-Ijli. Maybe E would be better. Ijli. Al-Ijli. Then we have a 5th one. I'm getting tired now, so I'll just say it to you. The 6th one again is the same chain coming through Hisham again. But the wording is, there's an addition to this. And the addition is, وَالظُّلْمْ دُونَ الظُّلْمْ وَالْفِسْقْ دُونَ الْفِسْقْ. That this is not the major kufr, and it's not the major dhulm, and it's not the major fisq. Okay? Coming through Hisham again. Number 6 is a different chain. I'll give you the number 6 chain. So we'll go to, from 4, we'll go to 6. Okay, I don't know how to count, but we'll go to 6. Okay, the 6th chain. The 5th chain is similar to this, it's just there's addition of words. So again, it's through Hisham. There's just addition of words. The 6th one is a different chain. From Tabari again.
So the same chain, but more words.
The same chain, but there's additional words. He mentioned dhulm, and fisq. Okay, so they're lower fisq and lower dhulm. Okay, so if you're going to authenticate it, you can authenticate these two, because there's the same chain. The next one is through Tabari, through Abdullah ibn Salih. From Abdullah bin Salih. From Muawiyah. Muawiyah ibn Salih. I don't know how to spell Muawiyah. Anybody know how to spell it? Muawiyah
That's Arabic.
bin Salih. From Ali ibn Abi Talha. Ali ibn Abi Talha. Abi Talha. From Ibn Abbas. Very nice chain, yes? He said, the one who denies what Allah has sent, meaning what Allah sent of laws, then he has disbelieved. He has disbelieved. But the one who accepts but doesn't judge, then he is a wrongdoer, zalim and fasiq. Okay? But the problem here is weak.
What makes it weak?
Imam Ahmad. Abdullah ibn Salih is weak. So the chain falls away. This is another version of the narration from Tabari. Ibn Hajar says about him, he is okay, but he makes too many mistakes. So these are from his mistakes. These are from his mistakes. Then we have number 7 and 8, where Ibn Abbas is reported to say that basically this is only for the Jews and only for the Jews. Okay? 7, 8 and 9. All three of them don't have any isnad. So somebody just says Ibn Abbas says, without any isnad, that this is only about the Jews and not about the Muslims. Okay? So, that's all the versions we have. The only authentic one that we could, the only one we could authenticate is 4 and 5. That's the only one we could authenticate. But the most authentic of them is the first and second, where the statement of Ibn Abbas is only that it is the kufr. It is kufr. It is the major kufr. And all other additions are the statements of other people and not the statements of Ibn Abbas. That tied me up. Okay, do we need any more examples of ittirab? This was ittirab all over the place. Ittirab all over the place. I'm going to do this one sitting because I can't do it again standing. The hadith of reading Surah Al-Kahf in 5 days. This is another hadith muttarib. Hadith al-muttarib. Why is it muttarib? I'm going to shorten it all down. Okay? It's narrated by 3 people. Okay? Hushaym ibn Bashir al-Wasiti and Shu'bah ibn al-Hajjaj and Sufyan al-Thawri. These are the 3 narrators who narrated back. They are the main people in the chain. Of course, there's other people in the chain, but they are the main people where the chains all meet. Okay? Hushaym narrates it back to the Prophet ﷺ. Hushaym, this Hushaym, not that Hushaym, not this Hashim. This Hushaym narrates it back to the Prophet ﷺ through Abu Sa'id. Whereas Shu'bah and Sufyan narrate it to Abu Sa'id and not to the Prophet. That these are the words of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and not the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? So straight away, Hushaym, Shu'bah and Sufyan. Shu'bah and Sufyan are together narrating that it's coming from, it's a mawquf hadith. Meaning it's from a companion, not from the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? Whereas Hushaym is saying it's from the Prophet ﷺ. Hushaym is not of the level of Shu'bah and Sufyan. So whatever Shu'bah and Sufyan say, they are correct. And their version is acceptable. Okay? That's one part. They don't mention the day of Jummah either. They don't mention the day of Jummah. they mention a reward for reciting Surah Al-Kahf without mentioning what day. And the reward is that the illumination between the days of the week, or in some of them, the illumination between you and Mecca. These are the versions of the narration. But they don't mention either of them, Sufyan or Shu'bah, a particular day to read Surah Al-Kahf. Except one version from Shu'bah, which is totally weak because of the narrator. After Shu'bah, it's totally weak. So even that we have to exclude, because even though it mentions the day, it's not authentic. Okay, so what do we gather from this? We gather from it that there is a benefit there is a reward in reading Surah Al-Kahf in general, without specifying any day. And Allah will illuminate either the week between you and the next time you read it, whatever day that may be, or will illuminate between you and Mecca, the distance between you and Mecca, whatever day you read it. So there is a reward for reading it, an extra reward for reading it, but the day is not authentic, that it must be on a Friday. If somebody reads it on Friday, that's good. From a narration's point of view, you shouldn't say that Friday is the day to read Surah Al-Kahf, even though people do say it. And other days you won't touch it. Only on Friday you'll sit and read it. It should encourage us to read it whenever we can, on any day.
Friday's gone.
Yeah, if you miss it on Friday, khalas, I'm not gonna touch it. No, there's a reward for reading Surah Al-Kahf, whatever day you read it. And you get these rewards just to specify it. See, I made all of that short for you. All of these different narrations and how they fit together. I shortened it all down, alhamdulillah. But the end result is there is a special reward for reading Surah Al-Kahf, but there's no specific day for it. And if somebody wants to authenticate, they can only authenticate through Hushaym. If they want to authenticate this narration, they can only authenticate it through Hushaym. And even on Hushaym, there's two different versions of it. Some mention Jumu'ah and some don't mention Jumu'ah, even from Hushaym. So, there is reward, and we should read it, and that's good. Hushaym is, yes, he is trustworthy. But he's not of the level of Shu'bah and Sufyan. They are imams. He's low down there. He's just a narrator. Have you had enough? Or do you want to do another one? Another one? We'll do the last one. I've done 4. That'll do.
So is that the position then?
That's my position, and you can do whatever you want. That's the position of the muhaddithin, the majority of the muhaddithin. That's the position of the muhaddithin. It's not the position of the fuqaha. The fuqaha believe that to read Surah Al-Kahf on Friday is a great thing, and it's from the sunnah of Friday. This is the opinion of the fuqaha, generally. Muhaddithin say no. There's no proof for that, authentic proof for that. It's just your statement. This is a problem we get with the fuqaha and the muhaddithin. Muhaddithin told them the hadith is not authentic. What are you doing? They say, no problem. We'll take it anyway. Because it's acceptable.
Yeah.
And we want people to do good.
Yeah.
So let's just give it to them. Okay? That's why I was in two minds whether to go through the narration or not. Because generally it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
People sit and... But again, people come and sit on Fridays and do that, and they don't do what is established as a sunnah, which is to stand and pray until the imam comes. Hardly anybody does that.
You know, regarding that, some may say it's mustahab. Who was the generation back?
It's in Bukhari and Muslim. In Bukhari and Muslim. Of course it's mustahab. It's not, when I say sunnah, it means it's not obligatory. Yeah? Bukhari and Muslim are the narrators of the hadith that they would pray until, the Sahaba would pray until the Prophet ﷺ came out. And this was the practice of the Salaf. And even some, I think some of the scholars in Saudi as well keep saying that. Nobody does it. They say on the mimbar, the sunnah of Friday is for you to pray the sunnah nawafil prayers until the imam comes. Next Friday, everybody's sitting there in their chairs on the floor reading Surah Al-Kahf. Or on their phones or whatever. But no one's doing what they should. Allah understand. Okay, the next one is, the last one, inshallah, is the narration of the looking at the finger in tashahhud. Looking at the finger.
Moving.
The moving one's dealt with. That's too easy to deal with.
Yeah.
There's no moving.
So from the previous one, did Shaykh Nadeem Rehman
Yes. That's yeah. Even some of the students of Shaykh Al-Albani weaken it. Like Abu Ishaq Al-Hawayni, he weakens it as well. Shaykh Al-Albani, I'm not sure. I think he authenticates it. Not that one. We're talking about Surah Al-Kahf. You're talking about.
Okay.
I think Shaykh Al-Albani authenticates it. Well, I don't know. Okay, so we're talking about looking at the finger from the point of view of the hadith, and not from the point of view. We know in salah, you should look at any place which gives you greater khushu. Whatever place you look at that will give you the greatest khushu is where you should look. And there's no fixed place that you have to look in salah. Okay? So if looking straight in front of you gives you the most khushu, then that would be the best place to look. Generally it doesn't. Yes. But for somebody in the haram, for example, who has nothing between him and the Kaaba, perhaps looking straight at the Kaaba will give him the greatest khushu. Then he should do that. Yes.
Me personally, I'm looking at the row in front of me, their headspace, where they just do.
Okay, if that's where you get the greatest khushu, then that's where you should look. But generally people get the most khushu looking at the place they're going to do sujood themselves, generally. Or, when you're in a ruku, you can't really look at the place of sujood. It's going to be difficult for your head a bit.
Yeah, people do.
So it's easier to look at between your feet or in that area, somewhere around there. Okay? And when you're in sujood, where are you going to be looking? At whatever's in front of you. Whatever you can't see where you're doing sujood, because your head's on it. So there's movement of where you're looking. But there's no fixed place that you have to look. So it would be accepted based upon this to look at your finger in tashahhud. It would be acceptable to look at your finger in tashahhud if that will give you the greatest khushu. But we're not looking at it from that angle. We're looking at it from the angle of the hadith. Is the hadith authentic or not? Okay. So the hadith, I'm going to shorten it all down. The hadith, the problem in the hadith is somebody called Muhammad ibn Ajlan. Muhammad ibn Ajlan, who is a trustworthy narrator, who is mentioned by many different scholars. Even Bukhari and Muslim use him, but again not in the headings, not in the usool, in the shawahid. So he has some weakness in him, but generally he's okay. He narrates it in two ways. One way he narrates that the Prophet ﷺ would sit and place his hand out and point his finger. And in another place he narrates through another, or to another student, just to one student. He narrates and look at it. Okay? So he narrates without look at it, and narrates with look at it. The narration which without look at it are supported by others as well. So other people narrate it without the addition of without looking at it. And the only one who narrates it is Muhammad ibn Ajlan from Yahya ibn Sa'id narrates from him. Al-Qattan. Okay? So the more authentic one is the ones that are supported, which is without the addition. So it becomes shadh because he's not supported. He's not supported. There's another narration which we could use as support, which comes from another chain, and it's mentioned by Abu Awana in his book. from Ibn Umar, again mentions looking at the finger. However, the problem in it is Muslim ibn Abi Maryam. Muslim ibn Maryam narrates it. Muslim ibn Maryam, students from Muslim ibn Maryam narrate it in different ways. Abu Awana's one is the one where he narrates it with the looking at the finger. Imam Muslim narrates it without it. And other than Imam Muslim narrated without it through Imam Malik and Sufyan al-Thawri, who are stronger than the one narrating from Muslim ibn Abi Maryam with Abu Awana. Therefore, even this narration is shadh as well. So we have shadh from Muhammad ibn Ajlan, and we have shadh from Muslim ibn Abi Maryam. Therefore, this addition is not authentic. However, it's allowed for you to look at your finger in the salah. But to believe that it's the sunnah is incorrect. Okay. Had enough now? We should go home, I think. Well, we have lots of time. Okay, we're coming back to the book. Is that okay? Okay, then the Shaykh moves on to Juz al-Thani, the second chapter. And this Juz al-Thani lasts 1 page. Why he made it Juz al-Thani, I have no idea. Because it only lasts 1 page. This is for me, by the way. I just start drinking it. That's coffee. Ugh. They could kill me. Okay, he says, question 25. تكلم عن مادة الاتصال. Talk about the tool used for connection, for connecting the narrators to each other. So he said مادة الاتصال هي اللفظ الذي استخدمها التلميذ في النقل عن شيخه. He said the tool of connection is the word that is used by the student when he's narrating from his teacher. وهي مراتب, and it is of differing levels. What are these maratib? The first level, which is the highest level, is for him to say سمعت, I heard. حدثنا, he narrated to us. Or حدثني, he narrated to me. أخبرني, he told, أخبرنا or أخبرني, he told us or he told me. أنبأنا or أنبأني, how would I translate? He informed, okay, informed. Same as أخبرني then. It's just another wording. Or he reported to me. نبأ can be a report as well. وأحيانا يرسمون لبعضها علامات. Sometimes they make for these what do you call it, symbols. Like they cut them down. ثنا, alif, kha, things like that. Like here he gives us example ثنا أو نا لحدثنا أو أنا أو أرنا لأخبرنا. So they shorten the words. Why would they shorten them? Quicker in writing. Quicker in writing. Remember, they don't have printed copies of things. We have beautifully printed copies that we pay for it. They think they're writing down the narrations as the teacher is speaking. So they need to be quick and shorten everything down. Just like, in courts, they have that person sits in front of the judge. It's normally a woman. I don't know why it's normally a woman, but it's normally a woman. And she writes down everything that is being said, but in shorthand. Yes? And she can get every single word down. Because they have a shorthand. Same thing in Hadith, they have a shorthand. So he says, هذه صيغة من المقبول تدل على الاتصال. These acceptable tools, or these acceptable wordings, show that the narration is connected. All of it is connected. Each student is learning from his shaykh. The second type of tool that you use is ijaza. Al-ijaza. What is al-ijaza? To get permission. بِلَفْظ أَجَازَ لِي فُلَانٍ. That such and such shaykh gave me permission to narrate this. Maybe I never heard these ahadith from this shaykh. But these hadiths are his ahadith. and he gave them to me as permission for me to narrate them. This is ijazah. That's why you can get ijazah in the whole of Bukhari without reading any of it to the Shaykh who's giving you the ijazah. You can get permission and become part of the chain. You can have your own chain to Bukhari, or Muslim, or any of them, without ever having read a word of Bukhari. Why? By your Shaykh saying, I give you permission to narrate Bukhari from me. But I've never read it. Doesn't matter. He's given me permission. Okay? That's why somebody who has an ijazah doesn't mean anything. Because he may never have read any of it or learnt any of it. All he has is permission to narrate it as it is. That's it. And doesn't have permission that he understands it, or that he can give you the fiqh of it, or he can teach it to you. He doesn't have any of that. He has permission to narrate it in the way it is. Anyone can do that. Pick up Bukhari and start narrating it. Read it. That's it. So, okay. That was thaniya. Then he said al-wajada. So these are, wajada is another type in the same level as ijazah. So the first one is that they actually get the narration and heard them. The second categories are the ijazah and the wajada. Ijazah is he gives permission to narrate it. The wajada is والوجادة بلفظ وجدت بخط فلان كذا, is that you find the book of your teacher and you know his writing and therefore you narrate from it. This is wajada. Nowadays we narrate Bukhari and Muslim, Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi and all the rest by wajada, with wajada, because we find the text and we know that this text is from Bukhari and Muslim. We don't need an isnad back to Bukhari and Muslim because we have the book. Okay? They needed an isnad back to Bukhari and Muslim and the rest because they didn't have the books. So they needed to narrate it. They could either narrate it by sama'ah, by hearing it, or they can narrate it by ijazah, or the third one is Bukhari gives you his book. Or we have prints of Bukhari's book. Now we narrate through wajada.
Nobody has a narrator after Bukhari then. So Bukhari narrated this thing.
No, there are. There are people who narrated before the printing press. Before the printing press, it was difficult. Yes, you had to narrate through it, and it's not. After the printing press, it became easy. Everybody could just narrate directly. Dr. Jamil can say Bukhari said, and nobody's going to say, well, who's between you and Bukhari? There's how many hundreds of years between you and Bukhari? Bukhari is 200 and something, yes? And we're 1439. How many people are there between you and Bukhari? No one's going to say that. Why? Because you got the book. You don't need, that question is nonsensical now. We've got the book, we've got the wajada. So nowadays we narrate by wajada. وَهَذِي صِيغَ مَغْبُولَةً, and this also is acceptable and show that there is a connection. Ijaza and wajada. They are also acceptable ways of narrating. They're only unacceptable if the person who's narrating the ijaza or the wajada is not authentic. He's not a thiqah. Then we're not going to, no matter how many ijazas he has, if he's not thiqah, we're not going to accept anything he has to say. And no matter how many times he finds a book, different books, we're not going to accept it from him until he's thiqah. And also, if the teacher is weak, so he gets an ijazah from a weak teacher, or he finds the book of his weak teacher, we're not going to accept either. Yeah. Apart from that, we'll accept it. The third one and the lower one is al-munawala wal-kitaba wal-i'lam wal-wasiyya. Al-munawala means, okay, come on, give me some Google translations. Munawala. Is it taking? It's more giving. Munawala. Nawaltuhu. I gave to him. So giving the narration. Perhaps on a paper or on something. والكتابة, writing it to him. والإعلام, I don't know what إعلام would be here. Telling him, announcing it to him perhaps. والوصية, giving it to him in his will. Okay? These are acceptable, these four are acceptable as long as they are connected to ijaza. That he was given all of this as an ijaza. Any one of these. But as an ijaza to narrate it. I could give you a hadith written and say, here you go, but you're not allowed to narrate it. Okay? Then you have the narration, but you can't narrate it to anyone. I haven't given you permission. If I give you permission, then it's acceptable. Okay? Then he says, فَهَذِهِ صِيغَةٌ مِنْ مَقْبُولٍ تَدُلُّ عَلَى الْاِتِّصَالِ. If that's the case, then these also are acceptable tools for indicating that the narration is connected. The fourth one is an and an. We already talked about an and an. هذه صيغة مقبولة غير المدلس. These are acceptable if the person using them is not a mudallis. What was the mudallis? He doesn't drop people. He doesn't cut them out. He doesn't hide people in the chain. If he's known that he doesn't do this, then his using an or an is not a problem. It still indicates that the narration is connected. If he's a mudallis, then what do? We stop. We stop, except for a few. Yeah, there's a few that Ibn Uyayna and others. We stop and check, did you actually hear it? And remember, tadlis was of two types.
Acceptable and non-acceptable.
No, there was no. Huh? Tadlis al-taswiya and tadlis al-isnad. What was the difference?
That's where you got a person between two thiqah.
That's where when you drop a person between two thiqas, it could be anywhere in the chain. And isnad was you drop your teacher. That was the difference. Then he says that this is not accepted from a mudallis except with what we have mentioned beforehand. So, if you want to remember about tadlis, go back and look at it. Then he says, fifth. The fifth category is قِيلَ رُوِيَ ذُكِرَ حُكِيَ بَلَغَنِي. It was said, it is narrated, it is mentioned, it is mentioned or narrated, it was, it reached me. What does these all say? I'll show you.
You haven't heard it.
It doesn't, you don't know where it came from. It's just, it was said. People said it. It came to me. Like Imam Malik in his Muwatta has things called al-balaghat, where he says, Balaghani Ibn Umar did this. It reached me that Ibn Umar used to do this. Okay? Where did it come from? Don't know. It just reached me that it came through this. These are normally weak. So these ones show that there is a non-connection in the chain. And they show that there is the chain is broken. Then we have the sixth one, ha. Ha. Just this letter ha. You'll have an isnad. All of a sudden, the Imam will say ha, and then give you another isnad. What does it mean? تدل على تحويل الإسناد إلى إسناد آخر وتقرأ حاء. It means that he's given you one chain and then at that person he stopped to bring another chain because that chain is going to come and meet at the same person that he stopped at. So it's called tahwil, detour. And you have detours? They use the same word in the Arabic, detour, tahwila. That he's giving you another isnad. Yes. It's in Bukhari, it's in Muslim, it's in most of the books. He'll bring one isnad to the person that he wants to do, and then he'll bring another isnad until the same person again, until they connect, and then he'll carry on. So he heard it from more than one source. The same narration, heard from one source, but they connected somewhere. It's possible you can bring it from two totally different sources as well. Possible as well. But when you see it, you'll see it. Ha. So you know what it means. It means tahweel. That he's bringing another chain of narration. Okay?
Connecting something.
So that's part 2 finished. Yes.
Example 4. How it goes around the roots.
Example 4. Ha. Open Bukhari and Muslim, you see it. In the first few hadiths of Bukhari, Muslim, you see it. Ha. Ha. About 3 of them in one go. Ha. 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 I don't have an example. I didn't think anybody asked that question.
But what's the usual about its authenticity? Is
Huh?
it acceptable?
No, then you have to check the chain. Muslim, generally fine. Yes. Bukhari, fine. It doesn't indicate anything is wrong with the chain of narration. It's just that the Imam heard it from more than one person, or it comes to the Imam from different chains of narration. Okay. Then he says, Juz al-Thalith, the 3rd chapter. تكلم عن المتن. Finally, we've come to the matan. All of that was to do with the chain. And now we come to the matan. And the matan is the most important part, what the Prophet ﷺ said. Yes? That's the revelation. So he says, تكلم عن المتن. Speak about the matan. المتن ما ينتهي إليه السند من الكلام. Gives us a definition that the matan is that which the chain ends with, of the statement, of the words. Okay? فإن كان منسوبا إلى التابعي, if the chain ends with the tabi'i, فهو حديث مقطوع, then this is called a hadith which is broken. مقطوع. If the hadith, the chain goes only back to the tabi'i and then the words of the tabi'i, then this is مقطوع. Okay? وإن كان منسوبا إلى الصحابي, if it goes back only to the sahabi, so these are the words of the sahabi, then these words are called mawquf. And the last one, if they go back to the Prophet ﷺ, then this is hadithun marfu'. This is marfu'. So we have marfu', mawquf, and maqtu'. Marfu' is to the Prophet ﷺ, mawquf is to the companion, and maqtu' is to the tabi. Okay? This is different from mursal. This maqtu' and mursal are not the same thing. In mursal, what is being said? Skipping a companion saying the Prophet ﷺ said. Okay? Here the tabi is saying a statement. Yeah, maqtu' is the tabi is saying a statement. Now the tabi statement is not revelation. It's just his statement. Yes. Like Tawus. Yes. Like Tawus, Tawus would be maqtu'. Ibn Tawus would be less. Okay. Then he says, question 27, تكلم عن الحديث الموقوف. So now he's going to go through the different ones. هو كل ما أضيف إلى الصحابي من قول أو فعل أو تقرير. The mawquf is everything which is attributed to a companion, whether it's a statement or an action or an approval, or tacit approval, iqrar. Just like a hadith is either a qawl or fi'l or taqreer. Yes, a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is either a statement, which is the highest level, or an action, which is of a lower level, or a taqreer, which is even at a lower level. Okay?
It's also called athar.
To a companion or to the sahab, to a companion or to the tabi'i is called athar, and where to the Prophet ﷺ called hadith. But sometimes you mix up and use different terms for different things, as long as you understand. That's the most important thing. Okay, so he says this mawquf is of 2 types. الأول موقوف ونسبته لا تتعدى الصحابي. That it is a mawquf narration, and it doesn't go beyond, the wordings don't go beyond being the words of the companion. Okay? They are just the words of a companion. The other one, وهذا نوع, okay, so he has mentioned it. He said this one, وهذا النوع له حكمه. This one has its own ruling. This is called Qawl al-Sahabi. Yeah? Qawl al-Sahabi, is it a hujjah or not?
No.
Qawl al-Sahabi, hujjah or not?
It is.
There's a difference of opinion. A difference of opinion. Is it a hujjah or is it not a hujjah by itself? Qawl al-Sahabi, say Abu Hurairah says something. Just by himself. Is what he said a proof?
With conditions.
It could be, could not be. Depends on Usool al-Fiqh and the madhab of the opinion within Usool al-Fiqh that you follow. That's why he says the place for the study of this is in Usool al-Fiqh. So he's going to ignore it. What's its ruling? Study Usool al-Fiqh, you find out. Until then, stay without knowledge of it. The majority are that Qawl al-Sahabi is not a hujjah, but if it's by itself. It can be a hujjah if no one opposes it. It becomes known and no one opposes it. Then it can become a hujjah. But apart from that, it's not a hujjah. Especially if there's a different Qawl al-Sahabi which opposes it. Like I mentioned in this narration, there's the statement of which companion that goes against the statement of if we accepted that this is a statement of Ibn Abbas, we have another companion statement which goes against it. Ibn Mas'ud, where he says it's the verse is as it is. That is a major disbelief. So whose is the hujjah now? Neither. If we say that this opinion is the opinion of Ibn Abbas, then that's the opinion of Ibn Abbas. Ibn Mas'ud has his own opinion, and we can decide between the two. Yes? If we use that. If this was authentic, and this is the only opinion that existed, and it became an opinion which was known amongst the companions, and no one said anything against it, then we'd have to accept that this is the meaning of the verse. Okay? But until then, we don't have to accept. Again, study Usool al-Fiqh.
But generally, should we accept as a hujjah?
Except why the hujjah?
Qawl al-Sahabi.
The qawl of the Sahabi is better than our qawl. It's better than our qawl, but it's not a hujjah by itself. It's not a hujjah by itself. Just like Abu Hurairah used to wash all the way up to here and up to here, and Ibn Umar used to put water into his eyes as part of wudu, saying that that's part of cleaning the face. Okay, or washing the face. These are their opinions. Okay, do we have to follow them in? No, they're not hujjah. Yes.
Sorry, there's an ayah, and the companion said something on the ayah. Is my hujjah then the ayah or the Qawl al-Sahabi?
The ayah is the hujjah. The Qawl al-Sahabi is an understanding of his for the ayah. But again, it's connected to the context of why he said what he said. Okay. Can we say that that's the only meaning of the ayah? Then no. Unless there's a consensus amongst the companions, then that's the only meaning of the ayah. We have to get that consensus. If we don't have that consensus, then we can't say it.
There was a difference of opinion very strong between Ibn Abbas and Zayd bin Thabit.
Zayd ibn Thabit. I think Zayd ibn Thabit. About mirath.
Mirath, yeah, very strong. I mean,
Yes, they were going to do mubahala.
yeah.
You know mubahala?
But two companions.
The two companions were going to do mubahala on an issue of mirath, or inheritance.
Of the grands.
It was to do with the grandfather and brothers. Do they inherit? Do the grandfather inherit only without the brothers, or do they mix in the inheritance, the brothers and the grandfather? They were going to do mubahala over it. Okay, so the companions different in their understanding of ayat of the Quran. Unless we have a consensus that this is the only meaning of this verse, we can't say that this qawl of this Sahabi is hujjah, whereas this Sahabi's qawl is not hujjah. Especially now we have two contradicting. One, Ibn Mas'ud's opinion, his chain, forget what he says, his chain is as clear as the sun in authenticity. Whereas Ibn Abbas, we've seen,
Yeah.
we have to force ourselves to authenticate. And we have to force ourselves to authenticate. I don't have a problem, it can be authentic, no problem. It doesn't make any difference to me. Because the ayah can incorporate both. It can incorporate major kufr and it can incorporate minor kufr. It can incorporate both. So if it can incorporate both, let it take both meanings. Why are we so rigid? Why are we being so rigid that it only is lesser kufr? There must be a reason that's making us say that. And what is this external factor making us say that? Anyway, that's not what we were talking about. ثاني, the second one is mawquf, but its attribution can go past the Sahabi and back to the Prophet ﷺ if there are sufficient surrounding proofs for which we can elevate it to the Prophet ﷺ. It has to be strong. There has to be some strong proofs. قرائن قوية. It has to be something that the Sahabi could not said from his own opinion. Like in the hadith of the Friday, the hadith of reading Surah Al-Kahf. Even if we say the hadith is mawquf, without the addition of Jum'ah. So we say reciting Surah Al-Kahf gives you a certain reward. Yes, lighting to Makkah, or lighting your week, illuminating, not lighting, illuminating. And we say that this is actually the statement of Abi Sa'id al-Khudri. He couldn't have said this from his own opinion. Yes? He couldn't have given a reward to reading Surah Al-Kahf on any day unless it came from the Prophet ﷺ. So even though it's mawquf, it has we elevate it to marfu'. Even though chain-wise we can't elevate it. Okay? But ruling-wise we elevate it. You with me? Chain-wise we keep it at the level of qawl al-sahabi. Ruling-wise we say it's from the Prophet ﷺ because this is something he can't say without knowledge. Just like Ibn Abbas when he talks about different levels, the different distance between the earth and the heaven and then the next heaven and between the water and the arsh and so on. He says it from himself. But again, this has the ruling of, he must have heard it from Prophet ﷺ because it's not something he could say from himself. Okay? It's from the ilm al-ghayb. So we give it the ruling of above. So this is the second type of mawquf. So mawquf, which is just mawquf. And then we have mawquf, which has the ruling of marfu'. These are the two types. Again, he says, refer to Usool al-Fiqh. The Shaykh loves Usool al-Fiqh. He loves it too much. It is a great science, and we should learn it. Okay, then he says, question 28. تكلم عن الحديث المرفوع. Speak about the hadith which is to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. هو كل ما أضيف إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من قول أو فعل أو تقرير أو صفة. It is everything which is attributed to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم of statement, of action, of approval, and of attribute, or character, or attribute. This is the definition of the muhaddithin. This is the definition of the muhaddithin. They add sifa. Whereas in usul al-fiqh, they will give us similar definition, but they won't put sifa. Why? Because they don't care about the sifa. That's got nothing to do with them. They're looking at halal and haram, and that is based upon statement and action and approval. That's it. The sifa, how the Prophet ﷺ was, or the characters he had, don't make any impact upon them. So they don't regard them as sunnah or hadith within the definition, or marfu hadith. Okay? So again, you see, even within their own sciences, they define things differently. So when the fuqaha talk about sunnah, it's not always what the muhaddithin talk about sunnah. You have to know the definition of each people or when you're reading from them. Then he says, وَقَدْ يَتَضَمَّنْ مَتْنْ بَعْض الْأَلْفَاظ وَلَيْسَتْ مِنْهُ. So he says some of the narration, some of these matans that come from the Prophet ﷺ could have words which are not actually from the Prophet ﷺ. وهذه هي المدرجات or مدرجات is better. مدرجات are the interpolated, I think. It's a word, I'm sure of it in English. Interpolate. I learned a new word in English. Quiddity. Anybody got an idea what quiddity is? It means mahiyya. How something actually is. Quiddity. I learned it yesterday. I thought, subhanAllah, there's a word for mahiyya. Quiddity. Okay, interjection. Okay, maybe. It's words that are not from the Prophet ﷺ which have been added. In the first hadith of Bukhari, what's the first hadith of Bukhari? No, not that hadith. I didn't mean that one. The Bab al-Wahi. I'm not talking about that one. Was like an introduction, but the Bab al-Wahi, the first hadith. No, that's in Sahih Muslim. Bad al-Wahi, and he mentions the hadith of Aisha about what? Everybody's failed. Just forget it.
In the ghar, first of it.
Good, mashallah, only one of you. In the Ghar Hira. What happened to the Prophet ﷺ used to go to Ghar Hira and he used to yatahannath. Okay? And then it says, ay yata'abbad, meaning worship. Okay? Now the word of Aisha is yatahannath. She didn't say yata'abbad. Okay? This is idraj. This is adding words. These are actually the words of Zuhri, explaining what Aisha meant. But these are not the words of Aisha. This is idraj. This is mudarrajat. They're adding words that are not actually from the narration. So you have it in the first hadith of Bukhari. Idraj. You have it in other narrations as well.
Maybe they clarify it with some. This is manipulation. This is to just
they clarified it by bringing all the narrations together, and they saw that this is the words of Zuhri. Zuhri is the first one who said this. Zuhri, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, great Imam of the Tabi'in, to explain the words. So these are not the words of the hadith. I think he mentions it right here. Oh, okay. He mentions it. I mentioned it before he mentioned it. This mudrajat could be in the beginning. وَهَذَا نَادِرٌ, and that's very little in the beginning of the narration. Or it could be anywhere else in the narration. Towards the end of the narration is the most. Towards the end of the narration is where most of the additions are put. And then he gives the examples that I gave. ما روى بخاري عن حديث زهري عن عائشة. Okay. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتحنث في غار حراء وهو التعبد. Yes. So these words هو التعبد من كلام الزهري are from the words of Zuhri and not from the words of Aisha. ليالي ذوات العدد, nights of many numerous nights. ذوات العدد, many numerous nights. So for many nights. Okay. So he says that the lafz of ta'abbud is from the words of Zuhri, who intended by it to explain the meaning of tahannuth. Because tahannuth comes from hanth, which is vows and oaths. Okay? Which is a type of ibadah. Yes? So the Prophet ﷺ didn't do the ibadah that we are doing. No. Yes? At that time, he didn't know how to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. So it's more of a contemplation. Yes? We don't actually know what the Prophet ﷺ, how his tahannuth was. But there was some type of tahannuth, ta'abbud, that the Prophet ﷺ was doing. And he only did that until when? Until Jibreel came, and then he stopped doing this. And he never went back to Ghar Hira. And he never ever went back to Ghar Hira. Even when the revelation didn't come to the Prophet ﷺ, for a period of time, some say up to 6 months, which is a bit extreme, but probably a few days. Even then he didn't go to Ghar Hira. He walked around on the mountains, whatever, but he didn't go to Ghar Hira. He never went back to Ghar Hira. So why do the people keep going to Ghar Hira?
I've been there once.
The Prophet ﷺ left it after revelation had come, and he never went back to it. So why do people keep going to it? And they go to it and they pray 2 rakah. And you have to wait in a line to get your 2 rakahs done. Yes. The Prophet ﷺ never prayed 2 rakah in that place.
No.
You know, if somebody says, I want to pray in a place the Prophet ﷺ used to pray, I want to be in that same area and pray. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ never prayed in Ghar Hira. Go to his masjid and go where the mihrab is, where the old mihrab is, pray there. Or pray in Rawda. Khalas, nobody will say anything to you. But don't go to Ghar Hira, which he left.
There was Bengali brother. He said, pray 2 rakahs. I had no intention to pray. He said, pray 2 rakahs.
Pray 2 rakahs is for the barakah of the place. Okay. ويميز الكلام المدرج بالنظر إلى الروايات الأخرى. How do we find out which words are mudraj or not mudraj? We do that by looking at the different narrations of the same narration, different versions of the same narration, the different chains, how they came. Is this word mentioned? So what they did with this one is looked at all of those who narrated this hadith, and who is the only one that put huwa ta'abbud? Zuhri. Therefore Zuhri is the one adding words. Okay. Okay. Question 29. تكلم عن الأنواع الثلاثة. Speak about all three. المرفوع الموقوف المقطوع وذلك بالنظر إلى عدد الرواة في كل طبقة. By looking at, or the thing that is important here is the number of narrators within every level of the chain. Every tabaqa, level of the chain. So he says, كل نوع من هذه الأنواع الثلاثة. Every one of these three, موقوف, مرفوع, موقوف, مقطوع, could be one of three. It could be غريب, or عزيز, or مشهور. Okay? And this is to do with the number of people narrating in the tabaqa, in the levels. Okay, so he says فالغريب, the غريب هو ما رواه واحد راو واحد في أقل الطبقة من الطبقات السند. Is a narration which is narrated by one person in any one, or in the lowest أقل طبقة, in one of the tabaqas. So in one of the levels. You know what he means by levels. And what does it mean by levels? The companions are a level, tabi'een are a level, and so on. Yes, there's levels. So in one of those levels, there has to be only one narrator. It could be any other. Some of them could have more.
Weak part of the chain.
It's not the weak part, it's just one person is narrating in that level. If that's the case, then this is called a gharib hadith. It has no, is it authentic or not? We're not talking about that. It's just the name given to it is gharib. The hadith of إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ is a gharib hadith. Because in every one, it's one from one. Okay, gharib hadith. But it's authentic hadith. Okay? So, if it has one in any level, then it's called gharib. والعزيز ما رواه راويين في أقل طبقة من طبقات السند. So, the Aziz is with two people in any of the levels. Two narrators in any of the levels. So there's support.
Any, has got to be any or all.
No, here he's saying any. في أقل طبقة من طبقات السند. In any of them. It doesn't have to be in all of them. It can be in any of them.
It means minimum 2.
Minimum of 2 in any of the tabaqat. So, as long as there's 2 somewhere, then this will become aziz.
Oh, okay, okay.
If there's two somewhere in the chain, then this hadith will become aziz. If it's just one, then this hadith will become gharib. Because it only came from this angle. Whereas if it has two, then it came from two angles. So mashhur huma rawahu thalatha. Those which are the three chains in any one of the levels. So it comes to us from three angles.
Is it three or more or just
Three. This is mashhur. We're not talking about mutawatir. Mutawatir is above mashhur but without number. Without number. You can't say the mutawatir will become 4 because mashhur ends at 3. So if we're going to give mutawatir, we'll give 4. No. There's a disagreement on how many is mutawatir. Some say 4, some say 5, some say 6, some say 10, some say 12, some say 40, some say 80. And they all have their proofs. Why? Okay. Okay. There's another mashhur according to the Hanafis. Okay, the Hanafis have their own mashhur. Let me see if I can read what I wrote. It's something which is between mutawatir and ahad. It's something which is between mutawatir and ahad. It is famous in any of the levels. Maybe it's famous in the level of the Sahaba, or it's famous in the level of the Tabi'een, or it's famous in the level of the Atba' Tabi'een, and that's the difference of opinion amongst them. It became narrated so much in one of the levels.
okay.
This is something, they call it mashhur and mustafid. Mashhur mustafid. It is lower than mutawatir, but higher than ahad. What we have here, the gharib, the aziz, the mashhur, these are all ahad narrations. These are all ahad narrations. Meaning they're not mutawatir.
Coming from only one source.
They're coming from sources which are less than mutawatir. Whereas the Hanafis have something above them, which is their mashhur, which is their mustafid, which is higher than the ahad, these, but lower than mutawatir. So it's better than ahad, but lower than mutawatir. Yes, Faisal.
You said lower than mutawatir but higher than?
But higher than ahad. So it's, like they have between what do you call it, haram and makruh. They have a position. Makruh tanzihiyya, makruh tahrimiyya. They have a position between. They have the same thing here in hadith. Three types that we've mentioned, gharib, aziz and mashhur, are all types of ahad narration. They're all types of ahad narration. They don't come to the level of mutawatir. Why do we need the mutawatir ahad? Because there's usool al-fiqh.
So did they disregard
No.
all ahad?
There's a problem with ahad in aqidah, with the innovated people, the people of innovation, who don't take ahad narrations in aqidah. You can only take mutawatir narrations in aqidah. Ahl Sunnah take all narrations in aqidah and in action, whether they're mutawatir or ahad. Doesn't make a difference to them. They're all from them. As long as they're authentic, they'll accept them. And they take the ahad narrations if they're authentic and there's enough supporting evidence that these are from the Prophet ﷺ. Like the Ummah accepted it. Like Bukhari Muslim. Everything Bukhari Muslim, the Ummah has accepted. So we take everything that is in Bukhari Muslim in Aqidah. The deviant groups will say, no, we will only take those narrations which are mutawatir. And there's not that many mutawatir narrations. 80, 90, 100, something like that. Not out of the thousands that we have. They say we only base Aqidah upon the Quran and mutawatir narrations. Only. then there's a lot that's going to miss out. There's Dajjal, you don't have any Dajjal, you don't have any Isa coming back, you don't have many things.
Punishment of the grave.
There's no punishment of the grave. There's so many things you're going to have to negate if you don't take the Ahad narrations. Even rewards of certain rewards of Jannah, you can't have them except with Ahad narrations. And their reasoning behind that, what's the reason? What do you think the reasoning behind that is?
What do you think?
Is it because Ahad Hadith, it benefits you dhan?
You have to explain that. Dhan. You're right. It only gives you dhan.
Which is basically it's not certainty. It's like a high level of it's basically below certainty and doubt.
There's a possibility that the narrator made a mistake, especially if it's only coming through one. Possibility that he made a mistake. Whereas mutawatir is so numerous of people in the chain that there's no possibility that they agreed upon a mistake. That's part of being mutawatir. There's so many in the chain that it's impossible that they all agreed upon a lie.
No.
So that gives you certain knowledge. Yes, that gives you certain knowledge. Whereas the ahad narrations aren't like that. They're coming through ones or twos or threes at most. Therefore, there's a possibility that there's a mistake, and the narration is not right, and so it doesn't come to the level of certainty of mutawatir, and they call that dhan. It's acceptable uncertainty. Okay, here it's an acceptable uncertainty. Or for them it's not acceptable. For us it's an acceptable uncertainty. But we add to that, Ahl Sunnah add to that in saying that the Ummah accepts these narrations. That the scholars of Hadith have authenticated it, and the Ummah has accepted that these are the words of the Prophet ﷺ. This brings them up to the level of mutawatir, meaning to the level of being certain. Not that they are mutawatir, to the level of being certain. And therefore we can take them into aqeedah and we can take them into action. The Hanafis do something else. In fiqh, they say we can accept them only in fiqh and not in aqeedah. We can accept them in fiqh because we don't have to have total certainty with regards to actions of the limbs. So we can accept them with regards to fiqh, but we can't accept them with regards to aqeedah. And also, we can't accept them if they contradict the Quran. Everybody's going to agree with it. If a hadith contradicts the Quran, we're not going to accept it.
Yeah.
But they don't actually mean contradict. They mean if they give an addition to something in the Quran, or specify something in the Quran, or restrict something in the Quran, we can't take that.
So the beating of the women.
Why are you beating women? Leave them alone. Leave them alone. How you reprimand the woman, they wouldn't accept that. According to their qawaid, they're not allowed to accept it, because that would be an addition on the Quran. It should be. I don't know what they say. Because sometimes they get a bit lackadaisical with regards to what they accept and what they don't. They don't always follow they have a principle that they don't always follow it. For example, washing the nose and mouth in wudu. They say we don't accept this as being an obligation. We'll say it's sunnah, no problem. We can't accept it as an obligation because it's not in the Quran. And it's an addition in the Quran, addition to what the Quran has said. Therefore, if we make it an obligation, then we've actually we've accepted something which contradicts the Quran.
And that's coming from Ahad.
Because it came to us from Ahad. Okay, but we'll say sunnah, no problem. Okay, and so on. They have their own issue with. They call it naskh. They say Ahad Hadith cannot make abrogation of the Quran, which we agree with, but not in the way they think it is. Okay, coming back to that. Question 30. We have a few more minutes, then we're going to stop. تكلم عن الأنواع التسعة وذلك بالنظر الصحة والحسن والضعف. Speak about the 9 categories. What 9 categories? The 9 categories of hadith, or the 9 categories that the matan can fall into. And that it's by looking at whether it's authentic or hasan or daif. Okay? He says these 9 possibilities are those mentioned underneath. Sahih li dhatihi. What's that?
In itself is sahih, the chain.
Authentic by itself. Sahih li ghayrihi. Authentic with support. Hasan li dhatihi.
Hasan in itself.
It's good in itself. Hasan li ghayrihi. Hasan li ghayrihi. Come on.
Hassan in under itself.
It's daif but with the supporting evidence.
Good. There's weakness in it, but supporting it brings it up to Hasan. Daif. Daif is daif. Is that 9? That's not 9. Where did he come with 9 from then?
Then you continue more daif.
Then he's going to break them out more. He's going to break them down again. Then he said this daif can be broken down into 2 groups. Al-awwal daif ضعفا يسيرا. So the daif, the weak, which is simple weakness, and that is due to either broken chain, or bad memory, or not knowing unknown narrator. Okay. The second is daif ضعفا شديدا, that which is extremely weak, seriously weak. And this is of different levels, different going down levels. المضطرب, المقلوب, المدرج, المعلل, المنكر, المتروك, الموضوع. Okay, I think that's where the 9 come from. Can we get all the 9 together? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There are more than that.
I don't know where to get. Okay, so this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6,
5 over here,
6.
More than
Okay, I don't know. I don't know where you got 9 from. Okay,
that. I don't know.
I have to. I wish I could ask you what this 9 is that he's talking about.
There is no 9 here.
But we're following what he's saying. That's the important thing. So he's saying that this extreme weakness is the muttarib, maqloob, mudraj, and muallal, and munkar, and matruk, and the mawdu'. Okay, so he says, question 31, explain each one. Explain each one of all of those that have preceded. So all of the things that have preceded, he wants us to explain all of those. Should we stop there?
Yeah, please.
And we'll carry on from there next week, inshallah. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد والله أعلم.